What is going on, my beautiful people? What is going on? I'm so thankful that you have decided to hang out with me for yet again another episode of the Pivot Mindset Podcast. I am your host. My name is Justin, and I'll be hanging out with you over the next probably 25 minutes. And I want to dive into a really interesting and fun topic. So before I do that, just a little bit of housekeeping. I want to first, as always, thank you for being a loyal listener to this podcast. When we first started this podcast, we wanted to really build a community of people that really was trying to look at how to build a pivoted life, how to create the life that they want. And often to create the kind of life that you want, you have to be okay with making the pivots that life requires us to make. We believe that life is all about the pivots, and those who decide to make those pivots, they decide to be successful. Success is a deliberate decision that you make each and every day. And a part of that decision-making process is deciding that you will change, that you will evolve, that you will not let things that have happened to you or things that have happened for you push or pull you away from the kind of person that you are meant to become. And so we're all here just trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And all of us have been through pivots. All of us have been through changes in life. And so that's what this podcast is really all about. If you're listening for the first time, please leave us a rating and review. We'd love for any shares, any shout outs, anything that you could do to help us spread this message. All of these things help us build the algorithm because we want to build this community, and we would love to have a body of people that really subscribe to this kind of mindset, because we believe that people do life well when they do it in community. And so that's what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build a community. And so with that being said, let's dive right in. So the topic that I want to talk about today is something that I know is super prevalent in our culture today, in our society, something that is ever a hot topic, something that I think this is just the entrepreneur wave and generation and just time that we're in. And I want to give you, throughout this episode, I want to give you 5 things that you need to start your business in 2020. That's right. I'm going to give you 5 things that you need that's necessary for you to start your business in 2020. And so in this episode, I really want to simplify and help you get out of your own way so that you can start your first business. There can be so many different things that if you Google how to start a business, there could be 10, 100, 1,000 different steps that certain articles and information and people that'll tell you in order to really get your first business or to start your first business. And to clarify a bit, in this episode, I'm not going to be giving you any information on what businesses to start or why you should start certain businesses or why you should go in certain industries. That's not what I'm going to do for this particular episode. For this episode, I really are going to give you some core fundamental things that are true no matter what kind of business that you start, because I want this episode to be applicable to anybody that's interested in starting a business, especially starting one in 2022. Because I believe that the business landscape couldn't be more ideal. That if you have an idea that you like to monetize, there has been no easier time to do so than in the era that we're in right now. The information age, social media, globalization, what we're doing around Bitcoin and NFTs and the metaverse and cryptocurrency and BitChain, all of this stuff has created such a e-commerce centric world that no matter what you're doing, it is so easy to get access to your target audience that you'll need to engage to be able to make some level of money or to have some type of success or grow any kind of business. And so if you're listening to this and you're saying, man, I want to start a business, but I'm not sure where to start, I believe this is going to be a great episode for you, because I want to give you some fundamentals and hopefully simplify all of the typically the chaotic and confusing things that could be out there around what you really need to start your business in 2020. And so with all of the information that's on YouTube, I'm a student of YouTube University. I've probably got a master's degree at this point from YouTube University. But there's so much that you can learn on the internet. There's so much that Google has to provide, between finding courses and finding educational material or joining masterminds. All of the information that you need to be successful is already online. There's nothing that you can't find and research that you can't take, study, learn, become a master at, and put into practice and build the kind of life and make the kind of money that you want. I'm 100% confident in that statement. But unless really, and this is typically a majority of the case, is most people aren't going to just go out and start a business from scratch. Like they're not just going to do it and be able to invest all of their time and resources into starting their business. Most people, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably somebody that currently has 9 to 5, or you currently have a career path that you're on, or you may already have a business, but looking to grow or scale or structure that business in a different way. And so unless you're in the top, I would say 10% of earners, it is extremely challenging for anyone to really get ahead in life. Because I'm kind of changing the conversation a bit, so hang with me here. But it's challenging for anyone looking to get ahead in life and build anything significant on only one source of income. So I don't care if your source of income is from your business. I don't care if your one source of income is from your job, your 9 to 5, if you walk dogs for a living. It doesn't matter where that one source of income comes from. There's a challenge when you only have one. You have daily expenses, right? Your bills are due. You're getting stuff in the mail all the time. You run your water every single day. You turn lights on every single day. You run up expenses every single day. And what I've found is that it's very hard to get ahead when you get paid twice and you need to spend money daily, right? I'm gonna repeat that again. It's hard to get ahead or build wealth or be able to really do anything significantly with money when you only get paid once or twice a month, but you have expenses every single day. And so my goal is really for people not to focus so much, or not necessarily focus. I do want you to focus on your career path and your 9 to 5, but not to depend on it so much that you don't have a way to, what I call, have your own ATM, anytime money. I think anytime money is super important, right? What can you do right now that if you get in a pinch, or if something happens and you have to go out and make some money, what can you do right now legally to go and make some money? And I believe that everybody should have something that they can lean and depend on. Right now, you've got Uber, you've got Uber Eats, you've got DoorDash, you've got Postmates, you've got Grubhub. You've just got all these things out there that you can do to just make extra money. So I think one is everybody's got to have really a way to make extra money. It doesn't necessarily have to be a formal structured business that you do that in, but I believe one income, you're so close to none. You're one decision away. You're one bad argument away. You're one layoff away. You're one downsize away from being stuck in your life and being in a financial crisis typically, right? So the goal, right, of your job actually is never to help you build wealth. I believe there's so many people that have the wrong expectation from their employer and their job. And so they look at their job as the end all be all. And your job was never really meant to be that, because the goal of your job is to get the greatest return on their investment, which is you. So there's not many jobs out there that make people rich, that make people wealthy. There are some. There are the top 10% of earners that stick with it and they climb the corporate ladder and they end up making tons of money and they do good with savings and they invest really well. There are a significant amount of people that are able to build a level of comfort or maybe even financial freedom after they've worked 25, 35, 40, 50 plus years in an organization or working for other organizations. But the only reason why it takes you so long to do that is, first of all, the only reason why you can become wealthy doing that is because you invest your money. So it's not actually the job that's making you rich. It's the fact that you're investing the money, and the money that's working in the markets is what's happening to double, triple, quadruple and make you rich. It's not the job that's just paying you and making you rich straight off of your salary. So that's one thing. But then, like I said, it's having the right perspective of what a job really is and what its goal. So again, the goal of your job is to get the greatest return on the investment, which is you. And so your employer, they want to produce the greatest outcome possible. They need you to be as efficient as possible, to be as successful as possible in your role, in your career, in your profession, while paying you as little as possible. So at your job, you will never be paid what you're actually worth. Because if you were, they would not find a way or a reason to invest in you. They call it investing in people. You are their greatest investment. Talent and you working for that company is their greatest asset. And so you are an asset because you bring value to the business, because you bring the business money. You change the balance sheet. You change the income statement of that business. And so whatever you are paid from that organization, know that you're making the business typically more money than that, or the value of what you do is proportionate or exorbitantly more than they pay you. And so with that being said, again, you will never get paid what you're worth from your job. And that is totally okay. What is not okay is you being misinformed and thinking that you will. What's not okay is you thinking my job has to be my end all be all, and this one source of income is going to be the thing that I can do for the rest of my life, and it'll make me rich. That is what's not okay, and that's, I believe, a flaw in how a lot of people fall into struggle and fall into living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much money they make. I know people that are making millions of dollars a year, they still live paycheck to paycheck. They live just they may have shinier things, they may have a bigger house, etc. But the amount of money that you make does not make you rich, or it does not make you wealthy, or it does not make you financially free. The amount of money that you keep and invest and that you have working for you is the thing that is going to do all of the aforementioned things. And so it's hard to get ahead. It's really hard to build something when the job that you're on, the place that you work, goal is to really just keep you just over living paycheck to paycheck. Their goal is, hey, I want this person to be able to pay all their bills and then take 2 vacations out of the year. That's why they only give you, 7 to 14 days of vacation time a year, right? They don't give you typically months and months of vacation time, because they're only paying you so that you can only take a few vacation days. And so to this episode, I really want to start with helping you get the proper alignment on what the role of a job is. And so I'm not somebody that's going to tell you to leave your 9 to 5 or that 9 to 5 suck. But I believe we can become too dependent on our employers to fund the life that we want when that was never their goal, intention, or never their job. That is your job. Your job is to fund the kind of life that you want. It's not your employer's job to fund the kind of life that you want. And so you have to take it in your own responsibility to build and create the kind of lifestyle that you want. Our job, that is not their responsibility. Nobody is coming to rescue you. It's up to you. No employer is coming to give you a parachute and rescue you to change your life. You have to be the one to change your life. And so because of the era that we're in, there are 1 million ways to make $1 million. Like I believe if you decide to do anything, that you can make any amount of money. It's just out there. Internet marketing, all of that stuff. There's just so many ways to make money out there. And so I want to dive in for the sake of this topic. And today, again, we're not going to talk about specific businesses, but I'd like to discuss 5 things that you need that will help you create any kind of side hustle or business that you can take and help you be successful in that said business. Again, and the cool thing is, again, if you do any amount of research, some people will say, hey, you need an LLC and you need a corporate structure and you need to find an EIN number and you need to build your website and you need to find an accountant and you need to get a lawyer, an attorney, and you got to buy a storefront and you got to get signing and you got to get business cards. And like, there's so much out there that I think most people see and read that kind of information, and they can be persuaded not to pursue the business. Because often none of that stuff is tied to the actual business or the thing that you want to actually produce, that you want your business to go to market with. And so for you, if you're out there listening and you're like, man, I want to find a way to make extra money, or I know that I love my 9 to 5, but it's not supposed to be my end all be all financially. I want to create something that can help fund other things that I want to do, that can help. I could put some additional money away from college. I could, buy some real estate with some extra money. Whatever your goal is, I'm challenging and pushing you to start thinking that you have to have multiple streams of income. You have to have many things paying you, and your employer is just one. Can you set a goal in 2022 to just find one more revenue stream, one more way that you get paid in addition to your job or in addition to what you do full time? And so many people spend so much time trying to build the perfect business structure, and they don't actually build the business or anything that will make them money. As a business coach, I run into this all the time. I'll talk with people and they've got all of the things that I mentioned, the business cards, the websites, they've got the fancy branding, They got photography work done. And I asked them how much their business is making, and it's barely scratching anything of significance for them. And so if all of those things, if brand, website, all that stuff mattered, then you would actually have success already. But there's something else that your business needs to be successful. And so this applies to any side hustle or any business, any organization that you're looking to start. But these things are they are universal. These things can be used no matter what you're trying to do. So let's start off with the first one. Number one is you have to decide. I think this is probably the most. I think this is probably the most important. You have to decide what you're willing to give up. If you want to build a business or if you want to do a side hustle, you have to decide first what you're willing to give up, because whatever it is you want to build, not only is it going to get you something, and I think a lot of us pay attention to what we're going to get, but we often don't realize what we have to give up to actually get it. And so I have made it a practice to work with myself and to work with people around me to identify what are your non-negotiables. If you really want to build something, you're going to have to sacrifice something to do that. If you want to be and live like someone else, you have to sacrifice in ways that other people don't. And so you may have to sacrifice your spending. You may have to lower your cost and lower the lifestyle that you have to be able to invest some more discretionary funds into a business or into whatever it is that you want to do. You may have to sacrifice your time. You may have to give up your evenings and your weekends for a short period of time to build this business or this side hustle. But I think it's most important to first determine what are you willing to give up. And I would literally write these down. I would begin journaling on these questions for you and have conversations with the people around you about what you're willing to give up. Before I started my coaching business, I had a conversation with my wife and I said, there's going to be some things that I'm going to have to give up. And that's going to be my evenings and my weekends. And not only am I have to give those things up, but I also want you to hold me accountable that if you see me just laying around on a weekend or lounging in an evening, ask me what I'm doing. Because if I am lounging and just chilling on the evening, that means I'm not focusing and putting in the necessary work that it'll take to grow this aspect, this business to where I want it to grow. And so again, point one, decide what you're willing to give up. Number two, the second thing that I think you need to build a successful business or side hustle in 2022 is that you have to identify your specific avatar. Now, some of you may not be familiar with the term avatar, but it's not your target audience. These are very different terms. Target audience typically is in connection with a demographic of people that typically have a pretty wide range. A target audience or target demographic could be, young adults anywhere from 18 to 35. That's a very wide demographic, and that has so many different nuances and perspectives and opinions and buying factors. So when I say avatar, is I need you to identify one specific person that you're going to create whatever the product service that you have, who that person is and how they look at whatever it is you're looking to sell them or service to them. Identify who your specific avatar is. What is your avatar's name? Where do they go to school? How did they grow up? What kind of background did they come from? How are they educated? Have they been are they a traveler? Or they're just local, or ever, just live locally? What kind of food do they like? Like, you have to get very intentional. I think to be successful, it's really good to get clear on who your key avatar is, because when you're building out your product, if you don't have it yet, or you're building out your service, you're going to find that it's going to be very hard to niche down if you don't have an avatar. You're going to be trying to cater to so many different people in such a wide audience that you're going to spend so much time in marketing and getting so many no's, when, for example, instead of saying I'm going to make a cookbook, how about your cookbook is for vegan moms, right? You would have more success for making a cookbook for busy vegan moms than making a cookbook, because you've got a niche and you can find out where those kind of people hang out, and you can directly market and target to your key avatar. So the clearer you are in your avatar, the clearer and easier it is to be able to market and get your products or service in their hands. So that was 2. Number 3 is you have to create your offer. Your offer is how it helps your specific avatar and at what price is it going to help them at. Your offer is one of the most important aspects of your business. Your offer. What do you offer? What do you do? What is your product? What do you sell? What is your service? There's an earlier episode that I took a snippet from a Zoom session that we did when I was working with entrepreneurs, and I was helping them understand how to make money on social media. I believe it's probably episode 5 or 6. If you just scroll back, you'll be able to find it. It's not too far from this episode. But in that episode, or in that podcast, I spent time really breaking down what an offer is. And for today, to kind of shorten it up a bit, again, your offer is going to be the thing that someone's going to buy. It's that product or service. But you've got to be so clear on what that offer is and how it helps that specific avatar, because your offer is the thing that they've been looking for all along. Your offer, the thing that you create, the service that you have, you're not necessarily selling. It's very hard to sell people on a concept that they don't want. But when you create something that people actually have wanted all along, they just didn't know what it was, it's much easier to sell it and have success with it. And also, I mentioned it's about it. A part of the offer is how much you're going to sell it for. So your price, a lot of people struggle with price. I get that often. It's how do I set the price in the number that I set my product for? Here's the thing about price. You identify your price based on the value that your client is going to get in the problem that they're going to solve. So when people ask me about price, I typically tell them that their price is irrelevant, because it truly is. Your price is absolutely irrelevant. You want to back into your price. Most people start their price from front. So they say, hey, I'm going to sell this product for $100. And then they go find people that can buy it for $100 instead of starting from back to front. And what I mean by that is your price, it should be based on value. And it should be based on the value on how important the intended outcome is to your avatar. However important that outcome is that your product solves or helps them get to, that dictates the kind of price that you can set for whatever the thing that you have. So for an example, if I am selling water at the beach, my price for that water may not be as expensive as if I'm selling water in the desert, right? So my price is based on how important the outcome is to my intended client, to my avatar. So at the beach, water is probably readily available. If you're at the ocean, salt water, so you shouldn't probably be drinking it. But if you're at a lake and somebody's dying of dehydration, they could just drink out of the lake. They won't spend $10 for a bottle of water. But if you're in the middle of the desert and there's no water for miles, it doesn't matter how much that bottle of water costs. I'm going to spend it because it's necessary to stay alive, right? We went to a monster truck rally. My wife and kid, we took our kids to this like monster truck rally this summer, and it was a really fun event. And one of the things that I'm always shocked and surprised by how expensive the concessions and things like that are at these kinds of events. So I get in line to get some lemonade, and the lemonade, y'all, was, I believe it was like $16 or $17. And it was a pretty big cup of lemonade, but it was like $16, $17 for this lemonade. And the line was so long. It was like wrapped around the building to get some lemonade. And the crazy part about it is all it was is they took a half of a lemon, they squeezed the lemon, into the cup. They put some sugary water in. Most of the cup was ice, and they sold that for $16, $17 and were selling out. But if they tried to sell that thing of lemonade right next to a grocery store, they would not have the same success. Why? Because the value of the outcome, what I needed, was different in those different positions. So that's number 3. I didn't want to spend too much time on that, but that's number 3 is your price is irrelevant. Your client is going to dictate your price based on the kind of value that you're giving them. And so know that if you're really selling value and knowing the intended outcome and how important that outcome is to them, then that will allow you to set the price at where it should be. 4, this is so important. My 4th one is, in my opinion, the most important part of any business that you're going to ever see is sell. You have to sell. You have to learn how to sell. Sales is the bloodline in the true pulse of any business. Any organization, let's call it Fortune 5, Fortune 10, Fortune 25 companies. If you say Apple, Amazon, Facebook, anybody else, think of any top organizations, Nike, whoever. These organizations have huge sales like teams and huge sales organizations as a part of these as a part of these companies. Why? Because sales is the thing that generates the revenue. You've got to have somebody that's selling. And so this is for small businesses, this is typically a big challenge for them because they think as long as I build it, that people will come. And I'll tell you that people will actually want to buy from you, but unless you approach them and attempt to position your product for them and how it can solve their problem, they're not going to buy it. You could post about your widget all day long on social media, but it will be not as effective as if you DM'd every single person that's following you and sent them that widget and say, hey, this is my widget. This is how much it costs. And here's how it's going to solve your problems. You will 10x your result if you stop just posting stuff and start intentionally going after the kind of people that you're looking to attract. So you have to be able to sell your product. Unless you're a celebrity, nobody's going to buy your product or service without being sold. It just doesn't happen. People make sales like a bad word. For whatever reason, to some people that aren't having success in their business, sales is a bad word to them. And that's why they're not having the success, is because they don't know how to sell. And I'll tell you right now, if your business is struggling, it's typically because you don't have enough sales. It's typically because you don't have enough revenue. You don't have enough margin. There's profit that you don't have that you need to reinvest back into the business. And you don't have it because you haven't put intentionality on selling. This is something that I want to really work in this next coming year to really help people build out their sales teams and help them be more intentional about selling their product and positioning their product the right way. Because I believe when you do that, you'll have way more success being intentional with yourself. So you got to be able to sell. That's number 4. And then I'm landing a plane here. 5, once you have had success, once you've made money, you have to get in the habit of reinvesting all of that capital and cash right back into the business. Your business is way too young for you to be pulling out the amount of money that you are. You should have already set and designated some kind of profit allocation that whatever money comes into the business, this how much money goes into savings, this how much goes into operating expenses, this how much goes into taxes, this how much goes into paying yourself. Identify what those percentages are. Quick example, I typically, for people that I coach, people that I work with, I typically recommend that they don't pay themselves more than 35% of revenue in their business. So if your business if you made $1,000 sale and that's all profit, I wouldn't pay yourself more than $350 out of that profit, because you have to invest back so much into the business. To grow your business, you need to be able to reinvest back into talent, and you need to be able to get certain systems. You need to put structure in place to help you grow and multiply what you're already doing. But when you take out, this is how you own a job and don't own a real business, because when you take all this cash out of the business, you then have to continue to be the worker bee and stay in the rat race to continue to make more sales and continue to make more money. But when you are able to delay the amount of money that you pay yourself and eat dirt for a while, let's call it 2 years, 3 years within the first few years of your business, and just eat dirt because you're investing so much back into the business, now you're able to recreate yourself. Now you're able to put sustaining systems and processes in place. Now you're able to attract the right talent that can help grow your business way beyond what you think or could ever do by yourself. But you cannot pay yourself so much that you cripple and fracture the success of your business, because your business is so young. Your business is in infancy stage. It needs this reinvestment to keep it live and thriving and well. And that's one of the biggest things that I see happen so much with entrepreneurs, is they pay themselves way too much, way too soon in their business. And so most businesses struggle because of these 5 things, I believe. And I'm going to recap for you. Here's the quick recap. 1, You have to decide what you're willing to give up. 2, you have to identify your avatar. 3, create your offer. 4, sell, sell, sell. You have to be good at sales. And then 5, it's important to reinvest all of that profit as much as you possibly can back into the business. And guys, this is why I'm not the person that's going to just tell you go and leave your 9 to 5, because your 9 to 5 can help fund and be the main investor in your actual side hustle or your side business that you decide to do, or at least it taking care of your salary so that you don't have to pay yourself anything. You can leave as much money back into the business. That is super important, especially for a young early business that's still trying to grow and scale. And so I hope these tips are helpful for you. Again, there is so many opportunities out there for you to create additional revenues and streams of income. I challenge each and every one of you, if you only have one stream of income, please find a way to generate another one. Find a way to attract another stream of income. It can be active. It doesn't all have to be passive, but you just have to decide what you're willing to give up. Because again, if you got only one source of income, you are so close to having none. And so I'm sounding out there. Again, my name is Justin. Thank you for checking out yet again another episode of the Pivot Mindset Podcast. Please leave us a rating, leave us a review. We thank you for hanging out with us today. And as always, we here remember that life is all about the pivots, and those who decide to make the pivots decide to become successful. Peace.